Okay, this video is very important for me. It's something that I've been praying about for the last year or two. It is regarding work, particularly education. I've been in it 10 years deep. The last 2 years have been traumatic. I've been shocked by students, shocked by parents, shocked by SLT, shocked by the NEU, shocked at theft. And I'm in a space where I've got two main goals. I don't know whether they'll be realized or not in light of what's happening in and around me. My two main goals are to go to one school and do everything, every workshop I've ever created, to teach maths so well that I see all my high sets, my low sets, my middle sets thriving, to do pastoral care really well, literally to just perfect myself in education just one last time. That's a big goal of mine. I don't know, again, if it will be realized, because I've seen a reaction based on complaints and just, I guess, a level of right that sometimes people don't want to hear or accommodate to. But I've been traumatized, guys. I'm not understanding a level of response to right things or corrected things. I've been in too many parent meetings where parents are so backwards, and I'm not a parent, so I'm not gonna just make out like being a parent is easy, but there's been far too many parental meetings where you're addressing child behavior that is so wrong, so out of hand, so rude, so underhanded, and parents will sort of play into their hands. And there's a level of discipline and just not wanting to correct a child that has just made it increasingly discouraging. There have been too many members of SLT that I've worked with who have enabled as opposed to corrected alongside me. I'm not perfect. One of my absolute theories and thoughts is I want to work and reflect and grow. Every single day I know I make a mistake. I was majorly struggling with punctuality in my last school. I was majorly struggling with even teaching high set, even though it was once something that I was good at. There's loads of struggles that I've gone through historically and on a daily basis that I'm always trying to correct. But I have been just really discouraged. I've just been like, in all our imperfection, how has it escalated to water bottles being stolen and thermostats and just intellectual property? And how has it become a thing where I've had heads of maths and head teachers respond so uncanny in a way that undermined as opposed to harmoniously worked alongside. I found myself, without words, at a level of manipulation. And so I'm really concerned with education in Britain. Well, I'll say mainstream education in Britain, especially what I've gone through. I've worked in agencies who don't listen, who have made it a business of theirs to underpay and to just be a little bit, not a little bit, but a lot bit unprofessional in a way that's self-preserving, as opposed to actually being like, do you know what? We agreed this amount, I'm going to pay you this amount, I understand your situation, I'm going to try and find you. And so I've just found myself in too many things over the last 2 years, particularly, that have just caused me to think, what the hell? There's been rays of sunshine. I've worked with some people who are amazing, some people who have been an encouragement, who have helped me even 10 years down the line to remember how to set things up and how to navigate difficult situations. I've worked with amazing teachers who are really gifted at being able to gauge or take a small idea of mine and then perfect it in ways that sort of challenge me to perfect things. I think about storytelling and story reading is something I love to do. love to do it with passion and try to make it as animated as possible. But there was a season where I actually struggled a lot with with social anxiety and being able to articulate myself well. I watched someone boss it in a moment of like need and it reminded me of who I was and who I'm trying to be. I worked with lots of people who have inspired me in one way or another, but I've been really discouraged by a level of dishonesty and a level of self-preservation that has enabled the worst types of behavior. And it doesn't get better. It doesn't, like, in the long run, if such things persist, it creates a society of really self-centered, selfish pigs. And that's not what we want to be around, right? I think, you know, obviously I have an ethos that comes from Christ and just an idea of being cheerful givers and being loving and being all that we can be, working heartily unto God, redeeming time, not wasting it. A lot of who I am comes from the Bible, but there's morality as well, and there's consciences. So even if, you know, you're not a believer, I've watched things happen in a way that has been so discouraging to a long-term idea. I think when you work in schools, especially when you're thinking about attainment and getting students to pass, and then also you do care about their character, you have choices to make as a teacher, as a parent, as an influencer that will either encourage long-term good behavior, or it will encourage a short-term burst. For example, if you have a student who is notorious for being silly and rude and disrespectful, and you desire it to be just resolved straight away, and so your short-term reaction or your reaction is to pander and to sort of lie alongside that student, or to say it's okay. What you've actually created is a moment where you've become friendly and sort of maybe tempered his or her response. But what you have literally created in that moment is a student or a young adult who is now always going to respond in a way with a memory of your reaction that allowed it, and that's not okay whatsoever. And so I've been really concerned about education. I've just been like, oh, what the hell? Like, and I think about this mostly when it comes to working in an independent school. I literally, I was flabbergasted at certain responses to behaviours. Again, yes, some students are SEND, so they have needs, they come from poor, low income backgrounds. So did I. I grew up in ends, went to foster care, been there, done that. Was past pillow. My dad was a drunk, my mum was schizophrenic. I know what it's like to come from a background, but I also know what it's like to have teachers that nurture and correct, and then teachers who enable and therefore create the worst. I'm very grateful to have had a tutor actually when I was at school who was so nurturing but also very corrective. I was very chatty at school, but I was also quite intellectual. And so I've worked in schools where I'm just like, whatever your excuse is, I've seen it and been through it, and it's not enough for me. It's not like your rudeness in this moment is not enough for me. Your stealing is not enough for me. I'm not here for it. Your desire to not submit to my authority in this moment is not okay. You follow instructions, right? Be quick to listen. My William says quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Sometimes I throw it out there. And so I have come to a point, and I've been here for a minute. I've been sitting here for a minute where I'm just like, I know there's amazing teachers. I know I once was, but it takes a team, it takes a community, it takes harmony from all parties to remember the main goal and to be so here for it in every way. And when you're part of a lot of schools that are dysfunctional, or a part of a system that is very dysfunctional, and then you yourself are struggling and you don't have the energy, it's just like, Lord have mercy, can I still do it? So I don't know, I just feel like sharing that. I know I really have something in me that wants to teach abroad and just go all the way. I remember creating a workshop. I wanted to perfect it. It's a Black Butterfly workshop that deals with mental health and prominent figures in the Black community, particularly in Britain, helping students to creatively explore different things through poetry, sketches and presentations. It was fun. I've done it once. I've really been gagging to do it over and over again. My last step, I think, is teach abroad. Do it all, hopefully in a functional school and with functional me. But yeah, I think there's a level of discouragement I've had just in the last 2 years, particularly with schools that enable and then undermine, and also just become really what's the word, who lack empathy for staff who have the purest hearts. And I would say I'm one of them. At least 95 or 90% of the time, to the extent that, you know, you seek to perfect things in your private life and in order to come forward with the best intentions. I don't know, man, it's just a level of ungratitude amongst parents and students. I'm just like, it actually makes me sick. It makes me sick. Call me judgmental, call me what you want. I just think if I deal with one more parent that has a complaint over foolishness, right? Like me correcting a student for having or abusing a freedom, or having something out that they ought not to have, or for throwing a chair. If I have one more parent meeting and they come to me and they're like, I'm just gonna, it makes me sick. In that moment, if you're a parent, the best thing for you to do is to turn to your child and literally discipline them in whatever way you usually would. Obviously not abusively, but it's that moment where you as a parent should be like, you are absolutely in the wrong. It's not that moment that you take your anger and frustration out on the teacher who's actually having to deal with a class of generally 30 or 20 students in a way that wants the best outcomes for them. Please, I encourage you parents, you are getting school for free. You're getting teachers for the most part who care. Please stop. And it's the heart cry of mine. Please stop undermining the authority of the teacher. Work with us, not against us. We care for your child. We try to demonstrate it for the most part. I know some of you are struggling to control your child. You have dynamics at home that make it difficult. But the sooner you understand the dynamic of a teacher and a child in a classroom, the better. And if you're SLT as well, please work with your staff in ways that do not undermine, in ways that reflect harmony, in ways that are cohesive with just what we're trying to produce in terms of students with better character, no matter what their background is. I think I said recently to a student, when it comes to voices in the class, it's not about clashing, it's about harmony or my voice. And I think when it comes to the way we are as staff, as teachers, it's not about arguing with each other. It's about reaching a harmony, and a harmony that is very clear for our students to hear and the parents that we're involved with. Again, I'm not a head teacher. Most I've been was a head of maths, and it was for too short because I had enough. But 10 years deep, I feel like I have a little bit of a say, personally speaking. That is my talk on education. 40 minutes and 23 seconds long. I'm going to leave it there. Deuces.